Okay, so do I regret Lauma? Now, this is a hard video. I've had to, take my time with this video because I did not, understand fully, like, to what this character's strength was. How good was this character? Now that I have, used this character and I've seen it, I would have to go ahead and say that no. This character is definitely overrated by people, I feel like, because she is not top 2 in the game. She's not. I've seen some people try and say, oh yeah, she's top 2, but no. In my eyes, she's not even close, right? She is not close to Mavuika or Skirk. Mavuika and Skirk are really strong. They are. I don't think Llama at C0R1 is coming close to Mavuika or Skirk. I don't see it. Her teams they do not hit 3 million damage at all. And then she has even sometimes longer durations because of the way, let me find the bro. Because of the way Xingqiu works, right? The man has a 21-second cooldown, bro. Mavuika's longest cooldown is 18 seconds. It is. You have 18 seconds on your burst, and that's it. That's all your duration. So an extra 3 seconds doing less damage overall, assuming, maybe Xingqiu, you don't have a better Hydra applicator, you're probably gonna end up, doing a little worse with Llama. Now, the benefit Llama has is that a character like Mavuika, once those 18 seconds are up, right? Or once those, 7 seconds of her burst duration are up, her damage goes from this to this. It keeps going down, and then it continues forward until you're back with Mavuika, and it goes back up, and 7 seconds, and gone. So that's what really brings this character, to strength, right? This character, on certain teams that you run with her, like Nilou teams, you can have it to where this character does not run out of any danger course. Your team is constantly doing damage. Now, you do need, some actual proper Hydra application, which you are going to have to switch back into Kokomi for. So if you're switching into Llama, refreshing her E skill because her duration is 15 seconds, her cooldown is 12 seconds. So this is 10%, 130% uptime. I don't know what it is, but it's quite a lot of uptime, right? And then we can go ahead and we can see, Nilou, she has like a 30-second duration or whatever. Typically, I kind of just refresh Nilou whenever I can, just because it's just a force of habit with every other character in the game where you just refresh their buffs every single time. So this is only 8 seconds, right? This lunar prayer duration, but this is actually for 30 seconds. For 30 seconds, you'll create bountiful course. So this is really, and all this 8-second duration here is her AoE ring of Hydra, right? Whenever Nilou does a thing, which won't be needed if you're using someone like Kokomi. So there is reasons why, Llama can go ahead and, work this out. Now, it is important to note that I personally, I've now used the Nilou team. It's not bad, right? I've used Nilou team in Stygian, and I mainly use Nevi, right? I've now, this, time I went to my farming today, I used Llama against all 3 of these enemies. I will, do a video on it, tomorrow. But I did, in fact, use Llama on all 3 of these enemies. And, once I, sort of understood it better, right? I get a 96-second clear time. I redid this. Same clear time, basically. Not gonna reveal it because you gotta subscribe and come back tomorrow to see the video. And then obviously I did Ruin Drake. Ruin Drake was very surprising because what Ruin Drake revealed to me is that on a team like this, where I'm using, Nevi, Llama, Inefa, and then Furina, on a team like this, I actually went ahead and didn't get Dendro Res to decrease at all. Which, sure, right? Sure. But it is important to note that before Llama came out, would I have even thought of using Bloom teams against Stygian? I've heard people say in previous Stygians where they're like, I beat it with Hyper Bloom. I've heard people say it. Would I have done it? No, I wouldn't have. No. But I just cleared all 3 of them with Hyper Bloom, basically. This was the team, basically. Nevi, Llama, Inefa, Furina, cleared everything. Just a blanket sweep of everything. Right? It took care of this took care of the Drake, took care of the crab, and then it also took care of the soldier. So it did very well. Now, the one thing I will have to say about this team, though, is that the Hyper Bloom damage is only like 20,000. That's where it lies. And it's not getting any extra damage, or it's getting extra damage from the double Nod Krai character, I believe. But it is not getting extra damage from, you know, her passive, which we can go ahead and look at, which I personally think is the worst thing about this character, right? As someone who's now used this character quite a bit, this passive is the worst thing about this character. This passive should have been foregone and given her an extra like 10% danger res or something. I don't care about any of this. Like, genuinely, this passive I hate, because sometimes when you're, again, I did 6 rotations and I got 2 crits on one of these, and it was with the you know, Hyper Bloom team, right? So 15% crit rate, 6 rotations, and then I got, you know, 2 crits, right? I got 1 crit for the 4th rotation and 1 crit for the 6th rotation. So no, I do not like this. It works for Nilou teams, right? Because you're doing so many hits that is almost impossible to miss like multiple crits, right? Whenever I do a Nilou team, it is consistently like I will see 4 crits per rotation easily. And that, I mean, that's still probably low, because what this really is a 1 in 6% chance, or 1 in 6 chance of critting. You know, it's really shouldn't be hard to get, but it is. So whenever I'm using Llama now, I just go ahead and I use this. Now, you know, it is nice because now with this new set, I mean, I have Elemental Mastery Sans, right? So she's giving you quite a bit of Elemental Mastery, sure. And then what I would really like to see is getting an Elemental Mastery Goblet on top of that, because if we can do that, it's a little tough though. I also don't like overall the artifact set designs anymore for these, you know, like, after using this for so long, I don't like the artifact sets designs, because we have this artifact set, which, yeah, sure, and Nefa's not gonna be on Llama's team. Like, Llama's gonna get Nefa, and she's gonna be better than that previously, but I just do not see where, you know, and at this point, I'm not really comparing Llama to like DPSs anymore, right? I'm not, because because the reason I compared it with DPSs before was because people were recommending teams where it was like, oh yeah, just use Llama, double Hydro, and an Electro character, and you're good, you know? And then I actually use that team, and like, you dodge and you lose everything, right? And the team ended up with 65k DPS, and in reference, it's basically standard that teams come out with 100k DPS. So basically having half of the normal like DPS standard teams have, not necessarily what I like to see, right? You know, and that is, you know, considering if you were to use like 21 seconds with Xingqiu and Yelan, overall, I'm not a fan, to say the least. But yeah, these artifact sets, due to the way that I like using, you know, Llama now, I'm not a fan of the artifact sets, because you can't use both of these artifact sets. You can't have this on both of them. Like, you don't put this on both Llama and Anefa, and I don't want to put this on my Anefa because it's Deepwood and it's giving her literally nothing. So right now it feels like in the, you know, Nevi team that I run, it's kind of like you have to pick which character you want to prioritize, and that's not necessarily something I like, right? Obviously it'll be fixed with the Nefer team. I'll probably end up throwing Deepwood on someone else, like another supporter. Don't necessarily know who though, honestly, because it's only in 8 seconds and you just basically want your E skill to trigger over and over again. So I don't know who would actually go and use Deepwood on Nefer's team, because you're obviously going to want it for a Dinger DPS too. So the whole thing I was building towards was the energy recharge plus 20%. You can technically still put that on, you know, Llama, but you lose this, right? So you have to have someone else who is going to actually use this. And the only other character who would use this would be someone like Fiorina, right? You know, you could use Fiorina or Nefa, and I'm not necessarily, you know, willing to just put Fiorina on Golden Troop specifically so Llama can do a little better and also have the same set as Anefa. I just don't really, you know, because it wouldn't stack, right? If this stacked, I think this set would be like a lot better. But as it stands, for Llama specifically, 120 elemental mastery for all party members isn't really that insane, because, you know, specifically because I'm also using Hyper Bloom, right? The only character who has their elemental mastery in effect on a Hyper Bloom team is the Electro character, right? That's it. And obviously Llama does get the extra elemental mastery, right? But that's it. So you want to give, you know, the Electro character as much EM as possible. It would work out better overall to just give the electro character the EM, and you know that does, if you're running like Llama, right, and then you have her on the set, right, that works. But then your Dendro character, maybe Raiden, instead of running Flower of Paradise Lost, will be running, you know, the Dendro set. It's very possible, because I'm gonna be honest, Flower of Paradise Lost is like a complete lie, and like there's no reason to run it over the Dendro set. Like you might as well just, oh, that's not the Dendro set. You might as well just put Deepwood on Raiden, allow, you know, Llama to hold this new set, right? Because this is gonna be a lot better. 120 elemental mastery comparatively to this. I mean, what? You're gonna lose, you're gonna gain 40 elemental mastery and lose the damage bonus, but the damage bonus isn't that good, because all it really is adding to the very, very base damage of Hyper Bloom. So yeah, it's just, this character has a lot of weirdly niche things that you have to start to understand. Otherwise, you're gonna like lose a lot of her potential and stuff, right? Like, oh yeah, just throw her on a regular Hyper Bloom team. Your Yelan and Xingqiu basically punish you every single time you dodge. Okay, well, you're still at 130k DPS, right? No, you're not. You're not even close, right? You can't keep dodging with a Yelan and Xingqiu team. That's awful. There's just a lot of small like problems with this character, and you know, her artifact sets and the team building process that just don't really make for a well cohesive character. But like, it's not that like serious, right? If you understand, like, it's not like, oh man, she can't use this artifact set, right? No, it's not like that, right? It's still fine. Like, you'll still be good using her. It's not like throwing Silali on a Mulaney team where she's gonna ruin the vapes. I mean, overall, you're probably just going to end up noticing that it's a little annoying to play this character, but you're never really gonna, like, other than the dodging thing, which is more of a Yelan and Xingqiu issue rather than a her issue. I think the biggest takeaway for this video is that I would have never run Bloom teams for the past 2 years, basically. I would have never even thought about it. Now that I have this character, I basically, I literally ran Bloom teams in the new stadium, and I went in here with this, and I went against the Fatui guy, and I lost today, right? I lost when I was farming, right? I was like, man, that shouldn't happen. Not, oh, this team is too weak. That I literally sat there and said, that shouldn't happen. You know, the reason for that being is because I didn't have Furina here applying Electro or applying Hydro. I was being lazy about it, and I was using Shieldon instead of Furina on this team, and, you know, that ended up, you know, costing me basically, what? How much time? 96 seconds, 14 seconds, right? Which is like 96 seconds looks a lot better than you didn't clear at all. You know, like literally I didn't clear at all because I had Shieldon on the team instead of Furina, and then as soon as I had Furina, it's like, oh yeah, you won. Yeah, no problem, you won. You know, there's a difference. And I mean, I won better than a Varissa team, right? I just, like, literally, I was using Chloride in last video, and I was like, if I had Llama here, I would be better, right? I would not have this issue. This would not be an issue, because it is also important to note that with this guy's shield, right, it is based on damage. So Llama doing, you know, 20,000 extra damage to this guy's shield, right? With, you know, enough of the Hyper Bloom. I do wish that if I had it in an EM Goblet, I would be willing to test it to see how much damage I could gain, because I do feel like I can gain a lot, right? And maybe even an attack percent Goblet with a lot more EM, but I just don't have those things. I mean, 44 elemental mastery on the Goblet here. I mean, it's not bad, but don't really have... we do kind of have elemental mastery rolls on almost everything. But yeah, as far as I see it, I am, you know, I would say I like Llama now, especially now that I've decided to step away from using her as, you know, sort of the driver for Hyper Bloom. But as a support, you know, or as a more leaning towards her support role rather than driver or DPS, whichever one you want to call it, and not necessarily trying to look at her and be like, oh yeah, did your team do that much damage, right? And you can look more at like Nevi and be like, okay, did you do that much damage? Right? How well are you now buffing Bloom damage rather than are you carrying the team on your back? Whereas so many people wanted her to be doing that, and she just doesn't do it. She doesn't. And I know there may be comments saying, hey, use Raiden here instead of Anefa. That'd be better. You know, you get more Bloom damage and you'd be able to access the crit passive. Already said I hated the crit passive. But also, you don't get the interruption for Nevi until you have a C1, which I would like to have instead of, you know, his normal thing. But, you know, you also also lose out on Ineffa's damage, which is like 40,000. And Raiden's doing like 3,000, and then she has her electro charge hit, which, you know, Ineffa's just gonna do more damage then, right? It's more damage. So yeah, I definitely would say that, you know, Llama, she's very good. I would say, you know, just with the way that she buffs Bloom, you know, she does decrease Dendro res. I'm excited to see what Ineffa actually brings to the table for her, because I feel like I could see it being a Nilou Bloom, but then I'm kind of worried because Nilou Bloom, most likely, like, if we're being entirely honest, it's going to have Xingqiu. I mean, Xingqiu though, well, what exactly is the artifact set? So the artifact set is elemental skill or burst. But Xingqiu needs energy recharge stats, right? So I guess you could run an ER Sands on him and just forego, like, and just give him elemental mastery. Well, no, he doesn't need elemental mastery. He just needs to wear the set. So you would just need to build a set of Deepwood for Xingqiu. That's great. We totally all want that, right? Yeah, you'd probably have to do something like that, and then have Nilou, and then, you know, Llama and Nefer, right? Something like that. We'll see how it actually works out and what ends up happening. But as far as I'm concerned, that's gonna be it for this video. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.